Ooh, that's amazing.
It really had it. Oh well, I can't quite.
Go back that one.
That looks like you're disembodied.
Still just coming
Yeah,
along.
that's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Huh. Well, welcome all. Hello and thank you. I'm glad we could be here. I thought for sure we would be hiding indoors in air conditioning, just 2 hours ago. So I'm glad that we can sit outside. And so thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Um, I have sort of a teaching to do today. Um, but I want to leave some room for whatever is going on with us or we want to ask or talk about. So I think we'll just start with a uh, a couple thoughts. Um, what I'd like to think about is loss and generosity. I'm going to invite you to have a shared sit with everybody. And I want to invite you to just primarily focus on your posture and your breath through the sit. I don't want to try and do something specific with the breath. I just want to keep good posture that's in service of good breathing and try and maintain slow, easy, deep breathing while you consider both loss and generosity. Hmm. I'll just invite you back here.
I'm back.
I am back.
I'm back.
Yay. Looks like we're all back here too. Do you guys need bug spray or a covering for bugs? You're okay. Any observations, thoughts, questions?
I think I started thinking of loss as in death,
Uh-huh.
but being back to teaching, or
Uh-huh.
there's a loss of connection and routine and security for a lot of kids when school gets out.
Mm,
Um, you know, am I gonna be there next year? What teacher are they gonna have? How's their family life gonna be over the summer?
right.
Are they gonna have enough to eat? Things like that. Will they see their friends? I
Mm,
think there's more to that, I guess, but, and then generosity. So loss of connection, I guess, is where I
right.
generosity. Because generosity can be a creation of connection. But it can be performative also, which is the new word my 16-year-old keeps throwing around.
Performative?
Like, it's for show. It's to get,
Sure.
it's to get, sort of attention. But some people are just like, oh, this person needs some help. I have time, I can do it. Is it generous if there's no like sacrifice involved?
Mm-hmm.
People still have like that energy that they can do a lot of things.
The nature of seva.
What?
The nature of seva.
Seva.
Yeah.
That. So some incomplete thoughts that we're rolling around.
Mm. Well, thank you for that.
So Steve,
Yes, sir.
so it's interesting, those two things, because when I think of loss, it's emotional for me. I'm sure others had a similar feeling.
Okay, sure.
Especially, unfortunately, I know you're as close to this as I am. We lost
Mm-hmm.
Greg last year.
Yes.
So that's one of the for better or worse, it's one of the first things that came to mind. And-
I visited his grave yesterday.
oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Nice.
And then I immediately, for generosity is trying to help Joe and Carol.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little, I don't want to say difficult, but it was a little challenging because it's a little emotional of me to think of loss of generosity. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. But
Mike, I don't know if Tina could hear you. Do you want to repeat it louder or I could try?
I'm trying to think what I meant. So which part does she know? Maybe it's better if you try, because I'm not sure where what she missed.
Do you know which part you missed?
It was the loss of the first grade last year.
Yeah, and he was thinking about, the generosity color that would be added to that loss is where he can be helpful to his parents that he left behind. Joe and Carol are their names.
Well, it's just it's a very emotional thing. I wasn't crying, but it was, I have cried, but in this particular instance, I didn't cry. But so it wasn't an easy meditation for me because I became a little emotional thinking about the things.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think it was an interesting something to try for me. It was
You
definitely
wouldn't normally think of those two things
when meditating,
like
right?
at the same time, maybe.
Yeah, they're almost opposite. They're not quite opposites, but they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of, but I guess they do come hand in hand because if someone has loss, you want to help them,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what came to my mind. I wanted to share that with everyone.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Well, I'd like to add something to what Mike just said, about when there's loss, you want to be generous. I think also, though, there is looking at loss and generosity within yourself. Like being generous does take something away from something else. Um, and so I guess ending up trying not to value generosity over loss because they both have their lessons and they both, can happen simultaneously, and one can cause the other and the other cause the other.
Mm. How do you envision one like the Ouroboros of one causing?
Well, if I choose to be generous, then I have a loss in my bank account if it's
Uh,
financial.
okay.
And if somebody has undergone gone a loss, as in with your friend Greg, um,
Right.
so that's the external conspir the so one relates to the other and the other I mean they can go in reverse too.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds almost like it's like a zero sum idea.
Yeah, yeah, and
Right. To be generous here is to incur some cost or loss elsewhere.
correct. And so really it comes down to your which it is your intention is toward, and which is more becoming more valuable for you because you're
Do you mean kind of
walking.
like where your concern is?
Yes, where you're what you intend. So in other words, if I intend to be generous, there may be a cost to that.
Sure.
I fulfilled the intention, so my energy has gone toward one direction in an area,
Right.
but been depleted in another. So, but what I like about it, I mean, when we were meditating, what I was feeling is that loss is not important. Like we think of it as something that has weight, but
Mm.
it, like in other words, I can think of a time that I had a lot of money in my bank account,
Mm-hmm.
and then another time when I didn't, and there's a loss there's a lot, but you can't hold on to that feeling any more than you can pain. Like you can't remember your own pain. You can remember things about it, but you can't
I
feel
think
it again.
I think that the way you're describing it is accurate to your remembered circumstance, but I don't think it's giving room for people that have a different experience.
Mm,
Like, I think some people would hold on to that pain or do, or they feel that the pain holds on to them, however they might phrase it, or they have that sort of loss of the bank account thing, but that sort of lives with them as a scar, not just, part of the story that they might tell.
mm,
Whereas in your case, it didn't, but I think y your elucidation here is more fairly representing your experience
mm,
than a more experience of the many or every.
mm, mhm.
You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
wherever we can do that, it makes room in the seams for compassion.
Mm,
Right. If we've had an experience and then we think others with similar circumstances will have our experience or reaction or something, then we don't make room in our hearts where we think we are making room in our hearts for
Oh,
somebody's sort of alternative experience,
Yeah, interesting. Very good.
which isn't about whose is better or more noble or any of that. It's just different.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I came up with the word empathy.
Empathy, like during the meditation you did. I think that's a good word to have. Anybody else?
I like empathy. That was nice. I like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say I didn't like empathy.
No, I think it
Like,
hits I think it
yeah,
hits it on the nail though. You know,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
I
agree.
know what you mean too.
I was thinking, maybe it is performative, but I'm thinking about temporalness and I'm thinking about preemptive generosity or anticipatory generosity when you think about loss.
Mm,
Today in my support group, we mourn the loss of a group member. I didn't know her, but she sounded like an amazing person. Kathy Ann sang a song like as a tribute to her, and it just brought
really?
us all to tears.
Oh,
I mean, I mean, it was gut wrenching, and you just I mean, I think about my dad. I do think a
mm-hmm.
lot about my dad, and I had issues with my dad, but I did take care of him for the last
Sure.
2 years of his life, and it was in some ways preemptive generosity. And when
How do you mean preemptive generosity?
I mean, when he left, I could look myself in the mirror. I was complete with it. I felt like I had done pretty much all I could, and I was at peace with it.
So here's my question, which may be difficult. And the way I'm going to pose the question is not meant to suggest that there are only two answers, but when you cared for your dad in that period, were you caring for yourself or were you caring for your dad?
And I want to say both simultaneous in
Was that
some
your
ways.
was that your intention?
No, but in 2020
Mm-hmm.
hindsight,
Right.
I
Yep.
I think there was some self-care in it as well,
Yeah.
and some healing.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the preemptive generosity? Am I thinking the same way you are? That you were giving care to him, but it was also helping you
Yes,
feel a certain way? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I think I didn't take care of my dad in that sense, but I have the sense of obligation in some way and another way of spending more time with him.
There was some obligation. There was a lot of healing. It was a very troubled relationship. It was
Yeah.
it was exhausting. There were there were there was some chosen sacrifice in it. And
Yeah.
time
Sure.
spent with my dad was not time spent with Frank or with my grandkids or with my kids. And one of my siblings still has so much anger at my dad, she stopped talking to me because of the choice I made in caring for my dad the last 2 years of my life. And then there's grief over that.
Oh,
Well, often those experiences, such as the interpersonal experience with siblings and father, they are we can understand them as fruit on a tree. And regardless of if you get that fruit when it's perfectly ripe, or it rots, or a bird eats it when it's partly ripe and deposits it somewhere else in the forest. Um, that experience um, holds within it a seed of the next generation.
Mm.
Like it can't help but to. Now, whether and how that might germinate is another thing, but the seed is there. And
Very good.
how we regard, I think it was your sister you said, or your father, or maybe your grandchildren who you didn't spend time with, or Frank, or her spouse. Um, that fruit has two opportunities. One is to ripen, and the other is to rot.
Mm, mm,
And sometimes those sort of experiences, things rot, and you can often see it at the early stages of rot when there is, um, I'm searching for the word. Um, Maybe not disdain. What's the word I'm looking for? The attitude somebody in your circumstance might have towards their sister who didn't look after the dad. What's the word I'm
and perhaps it's some
What is it?
self-righteousness.
Resistant?
Yeah, thank you. Resentment was the word I was looking for, and I couldn't. Yeah,
Mm,
but self-righteousness could be it, but I think resentment was I was looking for. Like the early stages of rot is resentment.
mm, mm,
And, as seeds go itself, resentment is, it's going to be a corpse flower, if anything, right?
mm, mm.
So even though when you have resentment, you might paint over it with self-righteousness, which makes you feel good about the unhealthy thing, it's ultimately an unhealthy thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying take care of your dad or don't or what any of that, but just uh, that's the sort of thing I'd be on the lookout for in that circumstance.
And I think, with your seeds that get excreted all over the forest, I think I think a modicum of compassion also for my dad, for my sister, I don't know, for all of it,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, perhaps in that there's generosity.
Mm,
Who knew?
I like that.
yeah, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
following what you're thinking.
It was helpful. I usually don't think about the two together.
Mm. Anybody else? All right. So I'm gonna just invite us to have another sit for maybe just like 2 minutes, just very briefly, to consider all that we've discussed, even if it's sort of subconsciously considered, and then we'll move on to the lesson. Hey, I'll welcome you back.
I'm back.
I'm back.
I'm back.
Nice. Um, so I had this um visit with a doctor yesterday at Yale, and I had to go to the Dana building. Um, and as you might not be surprised to learn, um, it put me uh in the mind of meditation. It's just a picture of me at the Dana building. You can see my Dr. Meat and Barely Bear too.
Nice. Nice.
Um, and in Buddhism, there's a term called Dana. So it's spelled the same Dana. It's just pronounced like a long A, like a soft long A, like Dana. And so it put me in mind of Dana. And Dana arrives in three different manners. And it's the first sort of practice or gift of the Bodhisattva. So it's quite important. Um, so the three so dana is a generosity. It's the term used for almsgiving. And the three terms are Zai Si, Fa Si, and Wu Wei Si. And the Zai Si is the material giving, like almsgiving that we imagine, or Darcy was hinting at, like spending money to donate kind of a thing. And the second, uh, which is Fa Si, is the giving of Dharma. Nobody's lost with the term Dharma. That's all right. And the last, Wu Lei Si, is the giving of fearlessness.
Hmm. Hmm.
So in Zen, we don't really see these three often expressed as separate ideas the way they just were in your mind. They're kind of all dissolve into one gesture, which is presence, like a fullness of presence. So Dana is less a description of a moment in your life, like a gesture, like giving alms, and more the shape of the life. So with every exhalation we give, with every heartbeat we give, with every alighting of our compassion, our attention, our presence, our ears on something else needy, we are giving. So I'm gonna, I think, just read what I wrote. I don't know if this is gonna become kind of um like part of the write-up when I do a meditation on this. I've written a meditation, but we won't end up having time. So and plus I'll probably keep working on it since I'm not gonna offer it today. So I'll just invite you to sit back and breathe. So this is three travelers at the gate. Before dawn, when the monastery is still half asleep and the world has not yet chosen its shape for the day, three travelers arrive at the gate. They do not call out, they do not rattle the latch. They simply stand there as though the gate itself had summoned them. This is what I do in the waiting room at the doctor's. The first traveler carries a small cloth bundle. The second carries nothing. The third carries a stillness that seems to widen the air around them. These are the three forms of Dana, though they do not introduce themselves by name. They stand quietly, as travelers do when they've come a long way, and know their arrival is its own kind of offering. The gatekeeper notices them and opens the gates. The three bow, not to the monastery, but to the world that has carried them here. The first traveler steps forward. The bundle is simple, wrapped in faded cloth, tied with a knot that has been undone and retied many times. Inside are the small things that sustain life: a handful of rice, a folded robe, a piece of fruit, a cup of water. This traveler is Saisil, the giving of material support. But the bundle is not the point. The point is the softening of the hand that offers it, their willingness to let something leave one's possession and enter another's need. The bundle is only the visible part of the gesture. The second traveler steps forward with empty hands. Their palms are open, unburdened, unguarded. They carry no bundle because what they offer cannot be wrapped. A phrase that clarifies, a silence that steadies, a presence that reveals the path without pointing. This traveler is Fashal, the giving of Dharma. Not Dharma as doctrine, but Dharma as conduct, as posture, as breath. The empty hands are not a lack, they are a teaching. The third traveler steps forward last. They carry nothing and yet seem to carry everything. Their presence is calm without heaviness, light without fragility. Standing near them feels like standing near a warm fire on a winter morning. Not because they radiate heat, but because they remove the cold. This traveler is the giving of fearlessness, not the dramatic kind that charges into danger, but the quiet kind that makes others unclench without knowing why. The gift is not an action, it is the absence of threat. The gatekeeper steps aside. The three travelers enter together. They do not separate once inside. They move through the monastery like three notes of the same chord. In the kitchen, the first traveler guides the hands that wash the rice. In the zendo, the second traveler shapes the silence between breaths. In the courtyard, the third traveler steadies the very air around the novice who trembles. Zen does not keep these travelers apart. Zen lets them dissolve into one gesture, the giving of one's whole presence. When a monk sweeps the walkway, all three travelers sweep with them. When a novice bows, all three bow. When a teacher sits unmoving, all three sit. The bundle, the empty hands, the steady presence, they are no longer separate teachings. They are the way a life becomes generous without trying to be generous. They are the way a breath becomes a gift without becoming a performance. They are the way a person becomes a place where others do not brace. In this way, the three travelers at the gate become the three travelers in the heart. They arrive quietly. They dwell without effort. They teach without speaking. And when the time comes, they leave the same way they arrived, without knocking, without ceremony, without regret, trusting that the gate will open again for whoever needs to enter next. Thank you. That was a little different today.
Thank you. Steve, it's so beautiful. It's hard to ask a question, but I don't know when we'll ever get back to it.
I'm here.
In these three gifts of the Bodhisattva, Basho, the giving of Dharma,
Mm-hmm.
how can Dharma be given?
Well, if I have $5 and I give it to you, I don't have $5 and you have $5.
Mm-hmm.
But if I give a speech, I give my words, but I don't lose anything. But you gain,
Gotcha.
like sharing a candle flame. You light your wick from mine. I
Mm.
haven't lost any flame and you've gained flame.
Nice.
So the given there is not the same kind of given as I have $5 and I gave it and it's physically gone. It's given like we might say shared would maybe be an
Mm.
more apropos translation.
Okay, that's very nice. Okay, I'd like to just comment on the last one too, because right now I'm doing a lot of reflecting on studying with you.
Mm-hmm.
And something that you don't know is that one of there are two things that you said to me in the very beginning. One of the first, like the second I met you, you said, "Welcome home."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that had a lot more impact on me than you could have possibly known. I really understood it to be safety and
Mm.
safety, a place to be comfortable in myself, a home.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one I want to share, because I think it's really important, and I've never heard you mention it again, is to recognize that we are going to die a terrible, horrible death. And once you can come to terms with that, there's nothing to worry about,
Oh my
right?
God. Wow.
Isn't that incredible, Mike?
Oh wow. Yeah, it's kind of scary.
So
What?
he said that to me in the beginning, and it really, I don't think we've spoken of it ever since, but it really meant a lot to me because it is that third gift, the delivery of fearlessness, to really realize that
Mm-hmm.
there is a choice
Mm.
and that, you know, like you choose, like when we don't know how we'll die. So we might as well expect the worst and then everything will be okay.
Mm.
So anyway, I just wanted to say those three gifts, are things
Mm.
that I've experienced with you, but ones that you may not especially know that last one.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, because it's true. It's helped me a lot.
What I wrote about that um fearlessness is to give fearlessness, you must first see your own fear,
Mm,
not suppress it, not conquer it, see it.
mm,
Fearlessness is not the absence of fear, it is the absence of self-protection. When the hand unclenches, others unclench. When the breath falls, others breathe. When the heart stops guarding itself, others feel safe.
mm.
So I didn't know how to work that into the bit I wrote, so that might go into the essay. I don't really know. It was more my notes than anything.
Yeah, it's sort of an uninformed thought, but maybe the generosity ties into the fearlessness and giving of your heart idea.
Yeah, I mean, these are all the three legs of generosity, or the three aspects, or the three expressions, maybe, of generosity.
Give of your heart with loss or without,
Yes,
and how you do it.
yes. You give substance, you give teaching, you give fearlessness, which we could um map to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha.
Mm.
It could be generous to then to take care of someone if that also gives them peace before they die.
Yes,
They can come to terms with the horrible event.
yes, yes. The way I see it is that we have this ledger, this accounting. Like, I'm still jealous of my sister about this. I still need an apology from my mom about that. I'm still waiting for my brother to admit that, or whatever, all that kind of stuff. We have this ledger. And then when you get to the sort of end of life, the hospice, the home care, the somebody towards the end, often the actions and behaviors and non-actions of people, like Ronnie was suggesting with caring for her dad. And I'm not saying this is what Ronnie did. I'm just saying often people, they're actually concerned with their own ledger.
Mm.
And this is my last chance to balance the books. but I would put it to you that the job is to care for the ledger of the person passing. Yeah, which is sound like what you're saying. Now that might have an effect on your ledger. That would stand to reason it would. But I think a lot of times people are just, I mean, I've literally seen people that are like, they never got what they wanted from their parents, but I'm going to show them how they should have cared for me by really caring for them well when they pass. Like, and it's this kind of resentment thing, you know, it's like, what's going on? So,
Not necessarily generosity, although it might come into.
right. Yeah. It might be like physical generosity, but not really of the heart. Yeah. It's quite interesting. Um, so what I did is I wrote a few koans to demonstrate this idea, and then a meditation that would follow that sort of I wanted to introduce the three travelers in a way that doesn't sound like memorize these kaisha, faisha, wuesha terms, but just like, oh, I met these three travelers and I can understand them by give substance, give teaching, give fearlessness. And I thought that would be an interesting way to do it. And then I was going to, after introducing it, do the meditation, but there's not going to be time tonight. So if it's something you guys want to return to, we can return to it. And if you don't, then I'll
No, I'd
probably
love
just
to.
record it. What I wanted to mention is if you haven't, was somebody else going to add something on this topic before I change topics?
Yeah, I had a
Sorry.
quick thing to
It's,
mention.
it sounded like,
Liked how it ended with trust.
mm,
You trusted that the gate
mm-hmm,
would open again.
mm-hmm.
And then
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Trust. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to wear that.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Yeah, I had a quick thing to mention. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. So, I had kind of known what Dharma was. Well, I cheated and I looked it up. Hope you don't mind.
No, I
But
I asked in case, but
yeah,
nobody
you
said
did. I
anything.
kind of knew what it was, and
Yeah.
you did ask. I totally remember that, but I wanted to get. I figured I would look it up to get more
Yeah.
clarification while you were talking. So I guess most people know this already, but I figured I'd share it with you.
Please.
To give an example, when I cheated and I looked it up, I didn't know this. A teacher's dharma is to educate sincerely. A doctor's dharma is to care for patients. A person's dharma may be to act with integrity even when it is difficult. And it just gave
Mm,
this as some examples, and I thought it was really cool because I know Tina's a
mm,
teacher. And I was thinking of Tina because one of the first examples
mm.
I gave was a teacher. But I figured, I mean, again, you guys probably noticed already, but I figured I'd share it with everyone.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Yep. Hope you don't mind me cheating.
No. Um,
Like the mention of integrity as well, because
while he describes he was cheating, is that the part that you liked? He really beautifully did.
if I'm cheating, I just say I'm cheating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's not cheating if you announce it.
But I think that's
Full
something
full
that
disclosure.
we've
Yeah.
taught our kids too. That's a word that we've, used in our family.
Yeah.
Kind of gotten away from emphasizing it, but
Integrity, the word. Yeah.
there are times where I bring it up again with the kids, just to kind of, I think our kids have, decent behaviors and integrity, and they work hard, but
Yeah.
just to kind of look for that in other people too. Make sure that's something that they carry with them.
Yeah, that's really good. That's
We ran over, but I'm wondering if part of Dharma, and I think about my dad who was a mathematician, and I think about, one of the gifts he gave me was Gödel's theory of incompleteness and any
oh yeah.
axiomatic system, and maybe there is paradox, I think about dad. I think about, you know passionate love, duty, obligation. Yeah, a tad of anger and resentment too. And I think they can exist simultaneously. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Yeah. And I think maybe they most often do.
Yeah.
Um, just on the subject of Dharma, I know we're late, but I want to tell this story about this. this book, which I find like deeply important. Uh, in the book, there is a Westerner who befriends um, um, an old wise, let's say Dharma teacher, and eventually they're going to return to China. Um, and so the Westerner who writes the book, um, we see through his eyes all the things he learns from the elderly person. And the reason that he wants to return is he wants to um, rebury his teacher, who was not properly buried because of political stuff. So he brings him, and of course, there's all these amazing uh, revelations in the relationship and the Dharma he learns by watching him and stuff. Anyway, at the end of the book, they finally locate where the master was buried, and at this point, the guru, if you like, is quite frail, very sick, certainly older, and very much worn out from the travels. Like emotionally worn out, legally worn out, financially worn out, physically worn out, all that kind of worn out. And they have to climb this mountain and avoid the army patrols and find, after all these dead ends, like here's actually where, and they find where the master's buried, and they rebury him with the appropriate sort of ceremony rites. And then they climb back down the mountain, and they're finally warm, and he's really sick and it's worrisome, and they need a doctor, and he's coughing up blood or whatever, I don't remember the details, but it's pretty grim. And then they get word, I think they're recovering there for a couple days before it's time to travel, trying to get home. And then they learn that the army patrols found where he had reinterred him in the appropriate to their lineage manner. And so the army people destroyed the grave because that's not the right religion or something. So then the guru says, well, I guess tomorrow morning I'm going to head back up and fix the grave. And the guy, George, who wrote the book, says, well, no, you might die here. Like, this is really bad. And we did do what we came to do. And anyway, now they know where it is. And when you rebuild their grave, they know what it's going to look like. And they probably have surveillance of you doing it. So you're going to get arrested, or you're going to rebuild it and they're going to knock it right over, and then you're going to die. So you've done what you came here for. Let me try and get you home, get you to a hospital, the big city, whatever it was. And anyway, I wanted to talk about Dharma. And he says that, well, I came here to bury my teacher. The book is called Bones of the Master. And he says, my karma is to bury my teacher. The guard's karma might be to knock over the grave, but my job is to live up to my karma. So I'm climbing the mountain tomorrow. That's all there is to it. And I think almost anybody else reading it would say, well, we should do what George says and not go up. We did it. We tried our best. It's not real. I'm going to die. They know I'm coming. I'm very sick, and all the rest. And there was no part of him that thought that. He just knew his karma was to rebuild it. It wasn't his concern what somebody did about it, which was his teaching. That was his dharma in that lesson, which I thought was pretty amazing. So the last thing I wanted to kind of leave you with is, if you're following my weekly guided meditations, I've written about 12 of them. So if chemo starts, that they should all just kind of roll out week by week, even if I'm sick or whatever. So those should show up for a while until I run out, I guess. But hopefully that's the kind of thing I keep recording, even if I'm, uh, you know, challenged. But last week and today were the first two of, I think, four, it could have been five, that are all based on teachings of Viktor Frankl, who, I don't know if you guys are familiar or not,
Yes.
but I think it's some pretty important stuff. So if you want to review Man's Search for Meaning or teachings on Viktor Frankl in one form or another, maybe a podcast or something, I'm not sure. I wrote a little bit about it, so you can read it on my Substack, and it's free. But all, I think it's four, it could be five, I forgot now. All of them are sort of a theme, and they'd benefit if you are refamiliarized with Frankl's work, and that'll be a whole series. I did previously, maybe last year, in October, I did one brief meditation, which I think we covered in this class too, Stepping Over Flowers. So we could review that one too if you wanted, but I just wanted to cue you to that because they're all of a theme, and maybe that'll get people reading Frankl.
Question, Steve?
Yes.
So I think you mentioned chemo there.
Yeah.
I might. So is that definitive? You're going to have to start chemo again?
Yeah.
Is it similar to last time? Is it 10 sessions, 4 sessions, or you
I don't know that part yet. I
It-
don't know that. Yeah.
is it for the lungs or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna guess, it'll start in August. That's just my guess, but
Okay.
before that I've probably got surgery. So,
oh, they might remove something?
yeah. So so hopefully tomorrow I'll talk to my oncologist and start to figure out what the plan is, but I'm
Right.
just kind of sussing out what my understanding is from where I
Understood.
sit now.
Understood.
So, all right. Well, thank you all very,
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm so glad we could all be here.
Me too.
Yeah, good
Thank
lesson.
you.
Thank you.
This
Thank
is-
you.
Thank you.
It's a blessing. It really
Glad
is.
you could join, Ronnie.
Thank you. It's
Thank
good
you.
to be